All right, Mercury is still retrograde, and now Mars is on the move?
We got a lot of stuff going on. Mercury's retrograde. We had an eclipse yesterday, a big lunar eclipse, and now Mars is gone from the sign of Leo, where it had fired Leos up everywhere for the last 6 weeks, into the sign of Virgo. And wherever Mars is the planet of ego-oriented projection. So wherever Mars is where you're going to attach your ego to any kind of project that you're doing. So I think people need to know where they can do that for the next 6 weeks or so, because it's been almost 2 years since it was last in the sign of Virgo. So for the sign of Libra, they got to be really, really careful. Mars is in their 12th house. They have a lot of frustration built up, and it's starting to build, and they got to be really careful with their words and not to identify their ego with what they do, because they'll find out that it's not going to be particularly gratifying, and they'll end up doing more harm to themselves than good, and that's never a cool thing. For Scorpios, it is in their 11th house of hopes, wishes, goals, and objectives. It is time for the Scorpio to rally their friends and colleagues, not so much acquaintances, but colleagues and coworkers, to work towards getting the Scorpio what the Scorpio wants. But they're going to have to do it with a group rather than individually. For Sagittarians, they just really need to duck and cover. Mars is in their 10th house of career and public standing, and the same type and variety of stuff that they dealt with 2 years ago that they thought was done is kind of back. And it really gets down to doing whatever it is the bosses tell you they want to do. Not the way you think it should be done, but the way they want it to be done. Otherwise, you'll end up trying to defend your job. For Capricorns, great energy for Capricorns. Legal matters, educational matters, important matters at a distance, contracts and negotiations, all are very, very favorable for the Capricorn. Education goes well, so really, really good time for Capricorns to cast their bread upon the waters, so to speak. For Aquarians, they are fixing to spend a boatload of money, just a ton of money on unanticipated expenses. And this is not just spending money on buying yourself nice stuff. This is repairing things that are broken down. And I got to tell you, during Mercury retrograde, try and fix it right. Don't do a halfway job on it, because you'll end up spending even more money by the time you're done than if you just did it right the first time. For Pisces, Mars is in their 7th house of partners, and every time Mars opposes their sign, everybody yells at Pisces. It's sort of like the universe is pointing at Pisces saying, you, and no one likes that, let alone Pisces. So they have to be really careful. And again, they are not what they do, and they have to be careful not to identify their ego and let their ego get out of joint. For Aries, it's time for flat-out hard work. It's hard work of the most mundane kind. This is not particularly glorifying work, but if you do your job to the best of your ability and you do it well, you'll end up being financially rewarded for it. So it's a good time to just put your nose to the grindstone areas and do the job. For Taurus, this is a great time for Taurus. This is a very creative, very fun time for Taurus. It's good times with children. It's good times with entertainment. It's good times. It's feeling good about what it is that they are doing. They're coming out of a 6-week period of just kind of wanting to lay low. And that laying low is done. They are going to be out and about and thoroughly enjoying themselves, whatever it is that they are doing. And they find something new to embrace and fall in love with. For Geminis, they need to clean things up at home, where almost every other sign goes through spring cleaning. Not Geminis, they go through fall cleaning, and they really are trying to get things straight at home, to clean up their home, to get rid of debris. And anything that you drag around, clutter at your home for Gemini will clutter up their minds too, so it's a two-pronged thing. For Cancers, it's in their 3rd house of day-to-day living. The pace of their day-to-day living is about to pick up, and they're going to find that they have to work very hard to stay ahead of the power curve, that there's no lollygagging around, that the pace of their life is going to pick up to pretty much near warp speed. And then, oh yeah, Leo. I hate to even say this because you'll throw something at me, but Leos are fixing to spend a boatload of money, just a pile of money. But the good news is, this is stuff they want to spend money on. This is not, oh, I have to spend money. This is an investment in my future. And if they also get the opportunity to make more money through the fruits of their own labor. And if they do, any kind of small effort is likely to pay off pretty big time for them. And for Virgo, Mars is in their sign for the first time in 2 years, joining mighty Jupiter. So for Virgo, they really want to project their ego out into the world, and they really want to take a child of their mind and give birth to it. It's a great new time to create new projects. For Virgo, it's the best new start for them since 2003, so it's all good for them too.
And that's all the good news we can handle for one day.
More than we need.
And we'll see you next week.
Always a pleasure.